I really appreciate you being here, and it's been quite a year for me, actually 2 years. I'm very fortunate that I have a great wife that she looks out for me. She owns and runs Heil Sound. I just, like she says, I just invent stuff now. And she bought this great property in the Ozarks, and it's given me incredible latitude to do things. And I've been thinking about products for the past couple of years, but just didn't have the time. But now I do, and we're going to show you some of the things that's happening. One of the things that always intrigues me about amateur radio, and I was able to prove it in my new station lab. It's a ham radio station, but I work for most of the major manufacturers, helping them design their equalizers and the transmitters and various things. And I really have I'm blessed because I now am able to do a lot of things that simulate what each of you do with this new station lab. I have practically every one of the major transceivers, and it really works well. I don't use any audio out of any transceiver, no receiver. And the reason is every one of them have about 1 watt of output, and they don't have very good distortion levels. That's why you never see them spec'd. Think about it. You never see specifications. For all you guys that are specification nuts, you don't see anything about the audio of the amplifier that drives your little 50-cent speaker. That's the most important, is the receiver. If you can't hear them, you're not going to work them. What I do is I have an 8-channel Yamaha mixer. And I take the output from every one of the receivers into that mixer. Then the output of that mixer drives this. You're not listening to any big PA system. You're listening to my receiver system. This is an amazing piece of gear from JBL. I don't sell it. I get nothing for it, other than I have it to use and pass it on to you. Because here's the deal. This thing is about $180 a pair. You get 2 of them. I've only have the one hooked up here today. It comes with 2 speakers. Inside here is a pair of 35 watt at 0.1% distortion. What you're running in your transceiver, no matter how much it is, how big it is, how little it is, those things will run about 8 to 10% distortion, and it drives me insane. And so, coming from the studios and all the things I did in my career with the bands in entertainment, this distortion drives me nuts. And it should you, but you've never heard really clean audio. Now you can bring right out of the back. Yeah, you're going to have to take it out of the DIN plug. Get out your soldering iron. Join us on Ham Nation on Wednesday night and learn how to solder from George Thomas. And then you could put it direct into that. But if you really want to do it right, spend about $50 and go out and buy one of these little mixing boards. No, it's not complicated. It's got an input and output. There's a lot of other inputs and outputs, but you only need one. You drive the speaker. Let's listen to some things. By the way, this is live. There's an antenna on the roof. Here's an icon, and we're going to listen off the air. Let's find some stations.
What is the call sign I'm going to need to, again, I know I used to have your...
There's your $250 matching speaker.
To do a search for you now?
The only thing that's matching is a color. They don't build it. It says right here, made in China. It's not made by ICOM, but it's matching. Why are you not paying attention? Because nobody ever pointed it out to you. Well, take $50 of this and give it to your wife to buy some new shoes. Take the other $200, and you can usually find them a little less, and buy you this. They come as a pair. Listen to what happens when I switch this. Let's just wait till this guy talks.
Good stuff, Don. Okay, go ahead, Don. I'm just going to do some search here.
I know, you want to hear that again. Let's go find him. That's very
Help. Used to read about rioting soccer fans 10 or 15 years ago and think, boy, I'm glad that doesn't happen here, but, it's not like that now. Yep.
That's the guys on 208, if you know those guys.
Yes. Oh, Nick here never loses a second. Oh, man.
Now, with the little mixer,
I could buy one of those, but
I can roll off the low end, punch up the mids.
As long as I got a watch, I clock in front of the I'm okay. That's right.
I can feather out the low end. And you become the engineer. You do the
Well, there's a bright sun just popped out here. The cloud layer is breaking up. That's good. You don't have any snow on the ground, do you? A double.
What's really cool about it is if you have 2 or 3 receivers, you can bring all of them in and they all come through at the same time. Just mix them all up. Just like I'm mixing the microphone and the receiver through the same speaker.
It should all be gone.
We're all through the same speaker. It's really quite different from what you've been brought up to see and use. But please experiment with this. I hear signals that I don't hear out of a matching little 3-inch speaker. And that's all they are. And it's sad because you spend all this money for the antennas and all this, and the audio is just, it's not there.
What kind of dog is she? I forget. A half Pomeranian and half Chihuahua.
And what's really cool about it is I've notched the top end out, and it gets rid of some of the noise.
More commonly called a mutt. Hello, Joe. Hello, I hear Joe Mobile. Good morning.
Listen to the noise level.
I just got through paying $1,450 for get my car out of jail. $1,450.
And you can bring those signals right out of that noise. It's amazing. JBL Control 2 P for power. JBL Control 2 P. And it's an amazing little speaker. As you see here, it's our entire PA system. And it's something that you really need to look into. The little mixers, there's all kinds of them, Mackie and Yamaha, and of course the Behringers, and they're all very inexpensive. And that's what you want to look at doing. And there's a lot of the JBL things online as the Behringers. Roger can help you with all that also. But I really love the sound that I get. It's full range. It's beautiful. It's non-distorted. And with the mixing board, I can mix it all together. It really makes a big difference. One of the things I've been working on, receive and transmit and all this is some wireless stuff. You can find me on 3847, 3850, excuse me, late night. Usually get in there about 10:30 on here after the news. And a lot of guy George is usually around there, and Phil and John, and these are some of my beta testers. And one of the things we've been playing with this past 6 or 8 months has been this wireless situation. I have never, ever liked Bluetooth because everything I hear of Bluetooth is bubbly. I never hear a clean, clear sound from your telephones or whatever. Even the Bluetooth speakers are a joke. Well, we solved it. And it was all because they overdrive the preamplifier. It's a very simple thing in the analog world before they change it over. And we solved it. So what I did is I took a Bluetooth adapter and we built a new preamp for it. And this Bluetooth adapter plugs into your microphone. And then using our headphone adapter, so you don't have to buy a bunch of new connectors, this little receiver plugs into that. It's really, really great. And it actually comes with a 1/4 inch. Get into the light here. This is the 1/4 inch that'll fit just about anything. And there's a lot of guys now, and I never thought about this. I'm just focused on amateur radio. George, that does the videos and Smoke and Solder for Ham Nation, he's using this with his camera to transmit back to his microphone into the camera. So there's going to be a lot of uses for this. Who knows where it's going? But it's about a week away from shipping. Roger will have them. It's under $100. This is a phenomenal little thing. It's going to be called the HBA. And you'll be able to get rid of your mic cable. And the interesting thing is, and we do it nightly with this bunch, if we plug in a cable or we go to the wireless, absolutely transparent. You can't tell which is which. That's what I was after. Because I've tried a lot of things over the years. Because a lot of you ask me, oh, why don't you build a wireless? Well, I tried. But it didn't work very well when I was trying to use RF. Because what do we got? 1,000 watts of RF. It gets in and RFI. And it was a mess. So I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And the Bluetooth, I never was happy with it until we figured out how to make that preamp work. And so I'm really excited about this new product. And you'll start hearing a lot of them because many guys want to get rid of that cable. Well, we can do that. If you haven't seen or heard about this one, it's kind of in the same vein. I can never get good audio into a computer. I don't care what it is. You use these junky little $14 microphones, and isn't it great because it's cheap? That's ham radio for you. Well, there happens to be a thing called quality and performance. And I guess in all of my days running around in the big audio world, performance is number one for me. Yeah, we got to look at the price, and we do when we're building and designing some of these new things. But I got to tell you, I've never had any of those things work to my qualifications. So I did something about it. There's a lot of these little preamps running around that you can take the output, put it in a USB, but it doesn't sound good. What's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? It doesn't have any kind of equalization. Well, we turned the corner. Our little adapter now allows you to have 2-band equalization. And so you can, if you want to be real punchy, if you want to be real bassy and sound like a broadcaster, if you want to sound normal, you can do all of that with the equalization in the USB-Q. USB-Q for, again, around $100. This thing really works. If you watch Ham Nation, you will see a red microphone, and you will see this plugged on the back of it with Dale, who does the videos every night. And that's what he uses, and that's what you hear on Ham Nation. That's how good this is. So we don't know where that's going to go. I get emails from guys all the time that's using it for things I never thought about. But at least these are products that I've come up with that are useful. And that's what it's about in our new quest of bringing you products that we really need. Not just another product. Oh, gosh, there's so many companies. They just come out with things to make money. I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at things, when I sit down in my station, I'm looking at things that I need to make my station work better. And guess what? That's you. I'm on the air every day. In the morning, you can find me on 3885 on AM. I have a whole console of my original gear. My 1956 Harvey Wells I started out with that my parents bought me from Walter Ash in 1956. That's still on the air. My Mosley CM1 receiver. 1962 Hallicrafters HT37 that I bought. A 20A that I built from a kit in 1958 when I was a teenager. That was my college education. Why? Because I learned so much about phasing. Phasing is so important. Phasing is how equalization works. How does that happen? When I go up here and I turn this mid-range control, how does that happen? How does that happen? It's all about phasing. Antennas, how does your Yagi work? And I'm a nut about this because I don't see it being talked about, and it's the most important thing that happens to you. And nobody teaches us, and that's sick. We need to learn about these things. And you don't have to be a broadcast engineer. You go look at the handbooks today. My gosh, you better have a degree engineer. Not anymore. I fixed that. If you don't have this book, don't leave Hamilton, Ohio today without it. This book, I wrote this, and I didn't write it. I compiled it in 1976 with notes. Some of these notes are 100 years old, and a lot of them are 40, 50 years. They're the original drawings that my mentors gave me. You don't read this kind of stuff. You don't have this kind of stuff. So I updated it with some of the new stuff, because Gordon West was on me for years. The little red book of 76 went out of print. He said, you got to build that back because I need it for my classes. So I worked with him and several other, and we brought out a lot of improvements, not improvements, but new things, and plus all the old stuff. It's amazing. And right after this, I'll be at the front counter. I'm going to sign them for you. Please check this out. It's very important. Talk about phasing. There's a whole chapter on phased arrays. I built this new station, and I've always wanted to do it, but I never had the property. Now there's 5.5 acres, and Sarah bought this for me and said it's going to be great for your ham radio. Well, 3.5 acres of it is now antennas. I think that's a pretty good deal, right? Yeah, I do. And bless her. But she's the president. She runs Heil Sound. She's an incredibly smart business lady, and she can make it happen on that end. Well, she said you just go invent stuff. So you're seeing a few of the things. There's a few more other things that are killer that I came up with, only because I have this station lab to do that. One of the things I've always wanted to do is build a phased array. Because I talked to people, some of my friends in California, on 75 meters. How are you going to do that from Missouri? It's real easy. How can I get 20 dB of gain in an antenna on 75 meters? What's it going to have to cost me $1 kajillion and be 100 foot long? No. It's 2 dipoles. You can build them for what? What's a dipole cost you to build? Maybe $5? That's all you need. Well, how do you do that? The secret, the key, is the phasing line. You come up, I use Ameritron remote switches. I got 35 of them in this system. And what happens, this phased array, we put up 2 telephone poles. They're 60 foot high and they're 64 foot apart. They're 500 foot from my station lab. Down there is a relay. And the 2 feed lines come down. They're 64 foot apart, the 2 dipoles. They come down to the Ameritron switching, but there's a piece of 42-foot phasing line, just RG213 like all the rest. If I point this way and feed directly this one, then this one has the 42-foot. It's lagging behind, out of phase. If I tell the relay to go the other way, the 42-foot ends up over here, and this becomes my driven. And if you want to make a note of it, put Ham Nation into Google and go look at programs 63 and 65. We actually did about 8 minutes on each one of those of how I put them up, which is no big deal. But we let you listen live to the stations as I get up to 20 dB front to back on 75 meters. Then we did it on 40 meters. And you say, oh, I don't have room for that. Oh, yes, you do. It's 33 foot high, and it's 33 foot apart. Just 2 dipoles. 33. Everybody's got 33 feet. And they don't have to be 100 feet high. 33 feet's great. And at 50, you say, well, I took it to 50 feet. You know what? Won't help you. Forget it. It's either 33 foot or 66 foot. Keep it in the band that you're working within their wavelengths, and you're going to get incredible performance. But the phasing thing is really cool. And I know a lot of you are going to say, oh man, here he comes. A lot of people, they don't understand when that word phasing comes by. Well, you're going to experience that very, very nicely. I always say you're never going to forget the next few minutes. You really won't. If you've never seen this or experienced this, you are never going to forget the next few minutes because it means so much to you. These are two microphones, exactly alike. And I have this little Y cable. And they're both, of course, hooked up. They're exactly the same. No problem. Well, here's another little byproduct of this demonstration of phasing. What happens if you double your power? How much do you get? How many decibel? 3. Do you know how loud 3 dB is? Well, you're about to hear it. This is not a game. This is not something I do just for grins and laughs. I'm pretty serious about this, extremely serious, because it's what's made my career in the professional music business, understanding gain and phasing. Because when you have a 30,000 watt PA, you better have every one of those speakers in phase. Here we go. When I bring this microphone up here and talk in both of them, it's going to raise it 3 dB. Well, there it is. And you say, no, when I went from 500 to 1,000 watts, my buddies tell me I'm louder than that. No, you're not. Okay. Listening is a mental process. Hearing is just, right now we're just hearing. We're going to close our eyes. Play with me on this one. We're really going to listen, mentally dissect when I take 3 dB away. When you close your eyes, gosh, now you hear the heater in the back. You didn't hear that before. What else we hear? That's all. Here we go. On the count of 3, we're going to take half of my power away. 1, 2, 3. Let me do that again. Oh, Heil, my amplifier gets... No, it doesn't. This is science we're dealing with, everybody. On the count of 3, we're going to take 3 dB away. 1, 2, 3. The human ear cannot detect 3 dB. Simple. I can get 20 dB with my antenna. I can get 10 or 15 dB just by adjusting my equalization. Both receive and transmit. Isn't that more valuable? Absolutely. I'm not after 3. I'm after 10, 15, and you can get it. Well, now we're going to take this little magic plug. This little plug is wired backwards. Pin 3 is to 2, 2 is to 3. Now we're going to plug it in the same microphone. And of course they both sound the same. No big deal. Now, when I have 2 signals out of phase, guess what I get? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The bomb could go off on them and you couldn't hear them. They're out of phase. Aha! Now, how does your Yagi work? When Dr. Yagi thought about this deal, how did he make that work? He had a driven element. He figured out mathematically he could put one in front of it and get 3 dB. Put another one, get 6 dB. See, decibel doesn't count 1, 2, 3. It's exponential. And so it really builds up quickly. But then he mathematically figured out to put an element behind out of phase so he could then get 20, maybe 30 dB. It depends on how well the antenna is built, designed. And he can get rid of that signal from the rear by having that out of phase element behind. It's gone. Hello. And that's exactly what's happened on 75 meters with my phased array. And you can do the same thing. And it costs you about $10. I'm telling you, you need to look at this. Ham Nation into Google, program 6365. This is killer stuff. There's a whole chapter in here. Pictures, diagrams, all of the different calculations of the phasing lines. And I really hope that we come back here next year. All of you have experimented with this. Because I don't want to hear this, I don't have room. Oh, yes, you do. You could do it on 40. You can do it on 20. You can do it anywhere. But, of course, on 75, you would never think you could do that. Well, you can. Very simple. Okay. And it's my favorite subject, I tell you. Phasing is so important. And it's sad that there's not more talked about it. But that's it for you. One of the other things we do with phasing, I mean, there's so many things. We could be here all day talking about what phasing affects. How does your noise blanker work? How does your... Well, you hear somebody come screaming up and you're in a nice conversation on sideband. He puts a big carrier in there. You go over to your blank, gone. How's that happen? How does that knob work? Out of phase. You just notch him out. They take that signal, inject the same signal it hears, out of phase. You just saw it. You just experienced. That's how your noise blanker works. How do your noise canceling headsets work? They have little microphones inside them, and they listen to the outside and they listen to the program. But the outside is out of phase in those microphones. That's how it works. Every headset that I have built outside of the BM10 has phase reversal. How many guys use that? How many guys are aware of that? We're the only company on the planet. I don't care who it is, in the pro world, in the junk world, any kind of headset. Nobody's doing that. Why? Because they don't understand it. It was just some crazy ham that figured it out when I built that phasing sideband transmitter in 1958 to get so fired up about phasing. And all of these headsets have a phase switch on them. And you can then cause the signal to move. You actually acoustically cause the signal to go from here in the front of your head to the back. And what's really cool is you get on a big pile up and you hit that phasing switch, and there'll be somebody come out of the pile that wasn't there, hit it the other way, he goes away. It absolutely moves signals acoustically in your head just by running signals out of phase. And I don't know why more people don't do it. We came up with a headset for the pro industry. Charlie Daniels, sound man, he was probably the number one guy that's been beating up on me for some years. They use all of our microphones, as do about 200 artists today. It's really quite a blessing and lovely to see Carrie Underwood, Stevie Wonder. The list just continues. Our latest one was Travis Tritt last week. Tori Amos, Tori came up in her whole life with Neumann. She was a Neumann girl. You couldn't change her. A couple of years ago, I was with her in a rehearsal hall. No, she said, I don't even want to listen to your stuff. I like Neumann. I turned on PBS it's been about 2 months ago. She's on tour now. Hello. There was a close-up of her, and here's the Heil name about that big on her PR35. I'm going, what in the world happened here? So I called Marcel in France, her audio engineer. I said, what happened? He said, I've been trying to tell her, and I took a PR35 into her when we were rehearsing this tour. She fell in love with it. Was it falling in love with the company, the name? No. It was the performance. And how did that microphone come? We could be here all day talking about that side. It was all because of Joe Walsh, WB6 ACU, about 6 years, ham radio, and still am, of course. But I never thought about that. Who could uproot all the big boys that's been there forever? Well, the big boys all moved to China. They're very proud. Sennheiser, the great German company, built a plant in China. Oh, man, come on. And now their stuff is a lot of plastic. And they even said in the press release, well, we can build things a little more inexpensive. Yeah, well, what about performance, you idiot? Because in that world, it's all about performance. And there again, most of that stuff's ego and habit. Well, I just use this ball mic all the time, until they grab a hold of one of the new technologies. Why is our things better? Because everything we build we're at right about 40 dB of rear rejection. And guess what? That's really cool when you're out on a stage with 100 dB behind you. And there's nothing from the back. Nothing. Try that with your Shure, Sennheiser, Neumann, whatever. You can't do that. How did I learn it? Phasing. absolutely phasing. It was Joe Walsh said to me, "You remember that big antenna you had?" I had 128 elements on 2 meters back in 1962. 128 elements. There's pictures of that. The history's in this book telling you about that side of it. And I had to phase all those, and some of them out of phase to make it work, 50 feet in the air. There are pictures of that in here. And it was incredible. Joe remembered that. And he said, "Do that to my microphone." I never thought about that. Because sure, Sennheiser, all these guys, they've been living on their ego and their, we're just King's Tut. Well, good for you, but how about bringing us some new technology? Well, they haven't. 45 years they've just been building the same stuff. And we've been stupid enough to buy it. Well, the market's changed big time. And there was a little silly ham radio operator that came up with new technology. Was it new technology? Been around forever. It was just these two crazy hams. Kind of nice to have the Eagles as your beta tester. These crazy hams put the idea together, and it was Joe. So that's how that all happened. But phasing is so important. Bob Workman, who is Charlie Daniels' sound man, he really loves our stuff. And he started beating up on me a couple of years. You got to build me a headset. Well, same thing. I mean, Sony 7806s, I don't know, whatever. And all these high-end headsets, I figured, oh, okay. Well, I started listening to them. They're junk. Like, oh, Bob, I see what you're talking about. So here we are. Now, oh, buddy, the ProSet 3 is one amazing headphone. And I'm really proud of this because I see it now all over the place. And it's great for ham radio. And one thing about all my headsets, and I guess it's because not everybody reads the instruction sheets. When I hear people on the air, or I see people on E-hams say, "Oh, damn Heil headsets, hey, this is tighten on my head." You didn't read your instruction, dummy. I went to a lot of work to put and build a steel band in here. So if you have a larger head than my little pinhead, don't be afraid to bend it. Now, hello, whatever you need. You got a pinhead like mine, shape it. And I guarantee you can sit there for hours, because the contesters do, because the contesters, practically all of them are using Heil headphones because of all these things. The phasing is very important. Of course, the microphones we do are very important. And so all of that works together, but if you haven't heard ProSet 3s, you need to check it out. It's really, really cool. And I'm sure all of you know about our hand switches and foot switches, and these are all things that I built for me first, and then I find out I think you guys need that too. Well, there's one other thing. My sweet wife, a couple of years ago, when things got a little crazy in the old financial department, she says, "We need to build some product that's a little less expensive." We didn't say cheap. You'll never see my name on anything cheap. And anybody that says, "You're lying," come to me and I'll jump on your case if I hear you say that, because I want you to prove it. The stuff it's very high quality. And again, for the price that we have to look at. And so we came up with a very interesting element. It's an open frame. You can probably see it in there. And again, it has this insane rejection that we do in the Pro stuff. And this is a great sounding microphone, and it's about $70. And I'm very proud of this because we worked hard to build a product that could be used for just about anything for not a whole lot of money. So the HM12 came alive, and we're thrilled. The thing I despise about microphones are hand microphones. I've hated them forever. Why? Because you take an element and you put it in a clamshell. This is what you get. And I don't want to hear you, "Oh, I don't sound like that." The heck you don't. "Well, Joe said I sound just fine." Well, you sound like that. Trust me. You do. You can't get around it. Every darn hand mic sounds like that. Oh, I hear them on the air and I just cringe. But understand, I'm listening in some very high-quality speakers. I've got things equalized right. I even hear probably more than some little junky speaker that's 50 cents. Well, what did I do? How did I get rid of it? I built a hand mic and I opened up the top, and look what happened. Well, here it is. A wonderful, wonderful new product. It's around the corner. Let's see if we can get this going for you. I'm very proud of this. This microphone it's been a long time coming. Let's see if I get this together. First of all, the microphone is set up so that it uses our own headphone adapters, so you don't have to buy a bunch of adapters. And let's see if I can get this going here. Got all kinds of stuff going. There we go. And what's cool about it is it doesn't have that hollow sound. It's very clean and clear, and it's not hollow. And there's one other thing about it. There's the screen on the top. Because of the placement of the element, if you talk in the top of it, you roll off the low end, and so you can change the response if you're working all the DX stuff. Kind of cool. But I'm very excited that we can finally bring a hand microphone that I'm proud of, because it doesn't sound like that. And I don't want you arguing with me, because it's science you're arguing with. So you're not arguing with Bob Heil. You're arguing with science when you put a microphone element in a clamshell, or we opened that clamshell up. Why are these guys not thinking? Because they don't care. Or maybe they just don't know. But the thing is, I do care because I'm on the air all the time. And I know what works and I know what doesn't work. So we're very happy to bring you all these new pieces of technology. And it's just been a blessing to me to be able to transfer that science into what you and I play with every day. Some years ago, I had a guy in my plant. He worked for us, and he at the time he came with us, he wasn't really healthy. He had emphysema, and he was a pilot. He had a little 150 Cessna, and we were playing around with some headsets for his plane. And so after he passed away a couple of years ago, I brought back that piece that he and I had been playing with. I said, I don't want to go into the aircraft stuff with this. I want to focus this headset to the ham radio industry using some of those technologies. We are very close to seeing production. I don't even have a name for this yet, but this thing is phenomenal. It's unlike anything else. You know, you've got your David Clarks out there. Well, if you've ever had a David Clark headset on, you can't stand it. I mean, it's like a vice on your head. Well, that can't happen, because if you're going to work a 24-hour contest, well, you can probably be 48 hours on this one. You hardly know it's on you. And it seals off outside noise better than an active noise-canceling headset. And I'm so proud of this. We're using some of our own speakers in here, because all the speakers in these things are awful. They just are trashy sounding. Well, I don't want that. Yet I don't want a hi-fi sound, but I want articulate, clean audio. You learn that from my book when we get into the Fletcher-Munson curve and how our ears work and what we must hear. There's a great chapter in there about this. And, of course, it's got the steel band. You can do what you need here. It doesn't have one of these jungle gym things on the microphone. I don't know what that's all about. I never did understand why they did that. This is the boom off of our ProSet Elite. The element in it is a very new dynamic. I've been working on... This has been the biggest problem of getting a very clean, clear microphone sound. And we did it. It has phase reversal on it. And in production, we will have a little control on the side to balance them. So if you need more sound on one or the other, you can do that. But then we come to one of the cool parts. The cabling, to me, is always something special. Let me change this over here. The cabling to this has been a nightmare. But Stephen, my director of operations, and Jerry, our product manager, all of us play with this stuff and put our own thoughts in it. First of all, it's a cable that could be certified by the FAA. It's really good stuff. But it's made to use our headphone adapter so you don't have to go buy another thing. And you kind of see the deal here? Almost everything we build uses that wonderful adapter. It was a great idea I came up with back in the 80s. But here comes the good part. The push-to-talk switch. It's wonderful. You can put it in the palm of your hand, and it can be there all day. It's very cool to operate. And then, of course, to plug a little 6-pin mini. Most of them are 4 and 5-pin. We had to work hard to get the 6-pin happening, but we did it. And the push-to-talk is here. That works super. And the other thing, last but not least, like all of our wire that we make, it's very flexible, very supple. It's great stuff. I mean, if you don't know it, we're building our own mic cable. Why? Because there aren't any good wire manufacturers for ham radio. Push-to-talk line is DC. Audio is AC. And they put all of that together in a shield. Hello? No wonder we have RFI. I have some of these guys that are ridiculous MC50s and 60s and they're RF generators. And in some cases, if they don't want to do the right microphone and do it right, I'll have them change the cable and it solves their RFI problem. Why? Because they got this cheap little junky cable. All the manufacturers, because they don't build their cable. They don't care. They put a Foster plug on it and that's it. No. Our cable has 2 leads so we can do balance for the pro stuff. Inside a shield that's really great. It's 100%. And it's not just wrapped like a Radio Shack junk. When you get through with it, you got about 2 strands to solder. No. And it's all silver-plated. It solders beautifully. But here's where we turn the corner. The push-to-talk lines are outside of that shield. So we're totally shielding the AC the way it should be. And the push-to-talk is outside. So there's no transfer. There's no correlation. There's no capacitance in between the two causing you RFI problems. It's wonderful. And the stuff is very flexible. It just feels good. And then I went to Foster, the people that designed the little junky connector in the 60s. They did it for the CB industry. And it's awful. You know, they're a little bit hard to get to. Well, check out ours. If you haven't seen our stealth connectors, they really raised a fit with me. Oh, why you want change good? I said, because it's junk. What do you mean junk? I said, try to put it on a TS2000 and tell me what you find. You got to use a pair of needle knobs. Come on. So we built this connector, and then we built the cable clamp to fit the wire. When it all fits together, you could pull your car with it. You don't need to wrap it with tape that always folds. You know the story on the junk stuff. This is the real deal. Heil wire and our stealth connectors are really super. But it's stuff that we need, and I guess that's what we're trying to do, is to show you things that you need and what will make your station and make your happiness better, because this stuff really plays. This is the real deal, and it's very inexpensive. So that's coming to some of the story of what I've been doing, and we got more things happening, but we're very excited about this, and you're the first guys to see most of this. And so it'll be coming. And it's not one of these deals like you go to Dayton and see a product and 2 years later it might end up in production. All of these products, with the exception of this guy, all of these products will be on Roger's shelf in about 2 weeks. So we're excited about some of it. Do we have any questions we can go through real quick? Anybody got any problems? What you got?
What's the model number of that hand mic?
The hand mic's going to be HMM. Heil mobile mic or whatever. That's going to be it. And again, it's under $100. Yes?
Bluetooth adapters, they work with the headsets as well?
I'm sorry?
Bluetooth adapters work with the headsets as well?
Well, that's something we're working on, where you could take the output of your radio and put the transmitter there and then plug your headset into there. That's the next step. At this point, I would say no, but hey, we're hams, man. We can make our connectors. And so, be watching. Yes?
What's the JBL amplifier model that you like so much?
It's JBL Control 2 P for power. They make a Control 2. They've made it for years. We've used them in the studio. They're near-field monitors. We go into these multi-million-dollar recording studios, and you have monitors that probably cost $10,000 up in the ceiling. But we need little, what we call near-field monitors sitting right on the console. They're almost like headphones, but we don't want to mess with headphones when we're mixing. And so they're called near-field monitors. So they've been around for a long time, decades. But here, just the past year or two, they put amplifiers in them because they know that there's computers and who knows what uses for a powered speaker. And we're not talking about the little junky things you buy at Walmart. We're talking about the good stuff. So I'm really excited about the Control 2P. I use it for all kinds of things. I use it for a church. 2 of them. Fills a whole church. You don't need all this big stuff. You need something that's very articulate and it works. And that's what JBL does. Anybody else? Yes.
That last set that you were showing us, what's the best guess on when it's going to be produced?
I don't know. I'm hoping, I can tell you that it'll be before Dayton, but the way it's going, things have really evolved in the last few months. I'll back up a little bit and tell you about this, because I had to call some guy out the other night. I did it live on Ham Nation. Got a little ticked off when these people come around, all this shit's built in China. No, it's not. All of this stuff it's put together in our plant in Illinois. But I design each of the parts. Stephen and Jerry and we put this all together. And a lot of you have input to these pieces that I design. And we're very blessed. We have a parts broker she goes around the world. The gal speaks 7 languages. She knows where parts are. And I give her these samples that I conjure up, and she'll come up with a manufacturer to help us. A lot of our parts are made in the UK. Parts are made in Malaysia. A lot of stuff in Malaysia these days, our elements are made there, the diaphragms. And Japan's coming back for tooling. I'm very impressed by this. For a while, they got pretty high in their costs, but now they're coming back down. Taiwan's another one. Our boxes are printed in China. But that's it. They're coming to us all the time. Oh, we build you a better microphone. No, you won't. No, you won't. We will put it together in Illinois after all of you and all of us have figured out what we need. And it's all assembled, tested, and shipped out of Illinois. And we're very blessed because some of these parts that I needed desperately, they're coming through. She's found some very high quality manufacturers of those parts. But I would say probably about April we might see something happening. I have no name for it yet, and I don't know. But it's a great piece, I can tell you this. I'm very excited. So you might want to... I'm going to go back over, and you guys want to pick this book up. You really do. As I said, I'm very proud because there's stuff in here you don't see. You just can't find. And I have guys buy this just for the last couple of chapters for all of the tooling. Like if you want a number 7/64 drill, what number is it? It's in there. A lot of decimal factors in here. And we're very, very happy about this book, the way it came out. Gordon West is thrilled, and he's been a part of it. And so you want to check that out. I'll be across here in just a few minutes when I get all this packed up, and we'll see you there. Well, thanks for coming. Drive safely. 3847 every night. You can find me AM on 3885. Yes, you had it?
You mind doing that Joe Walsh impersonation one more time?
Which one?
Oh, you did a great one.
Oh. Well, it's because I've been around him since the James gang. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a wonderful person. I'm very proud of him because he's lasted when a lot of them haven't. And if you haven't heard Analog Man, go immediately and buy his new album because it tells you his whole life. He's really laid it out for you. It's kind of a chapter 2 of Life's Been Good. And it's wonderful. He's playing better than I've ever heard from Joe. And I've been around since the James gang with him. So we're very excited. And, of course, he and I built the talk box for Rocky Mountain Way. And then I gave one to Frampton. And you know what happened to his career. And now everybody from Slash to Alice in Chains. And who knows where they are. So, again, it's just ham radio in me. I just am blessed to be in this hobby, and it teaches me so much because I listen to you guys. I listen and learn from being on the air what's needed. That's why Heil Sound exists. Thanks for coming.
A 5-minute warning for our 12 o'clock drawing. Make sure you're ready.
All right. How was that for timing? Okay.